Thank you. Okay. So, welcome everyone. I'm an attorney with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and a colleague of mine, Victoria, she's with the FBI. She's a special agent with the FBI. She's here as well. The focus of our presentation today is about elder fraud, avoiding scams and swindles. We're going to talk to you about types of elder fraud and how to avoid being the victim of frauds. And at the end, we'll take any questions you have. And hopefully this will clarify an area that's really important to our office and to the FBI both. Would you change the slide, please? So I'll let Victoria say just a few words about what the FBI does in this area.
Absolutely. So I am the supervisor of the Financial Crime Squad. So hopefully after today's presentation, you're not making a complaint to us having been victimized. So my goal here today is not to investigate the bad guys after they've gotten your money, but rather to, I wore red for this very reason, to help you identify alongside my colleague here the red flags. The things scammers commonly do to try to develop that rapport with you to steal your money. So financial crimes is my area, but today it's all about prevention.
Yep, and then our office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, we're attorneys, so the FBI investigates crimes, and then once they're ready to be charged, we take them to court and we prosecute the crime. So we work together frequently. You can change that. So I just wanted to briefly summarize here that this is a case from Indiana. A lot of people think elder fraud, maybe that's something that happens in New York or San Francisco or LA. It happens everywhere. And our office with the FBI just a few years ago prosecuted 5 defendants who had a nationwide scam of targeting the elderly, saying they were their grandchildren or they were in need because they were their grandchildren, and taking thousands and thousands of dollars from these elderly victims. And that was just right here in Indiana. It was a case prosecuted in Indianapolis by colleagues of mine. So it is something that happens here in Indiana to people all the time, and that's why we want to take time to make sure it doesn't stop, do whatever we can to stop it from happening. Yeah. Well, that actually brings me to this next point. Would you mind changing the slide? So if you remember one thing from this presentation, the scammers want you to feel pressure to act quickly. They want you to not slow down and think. And the way to not get scammed, the number one way, is to just slow down. You don't have to do, financial transactions don't need to be done in 5 minutes. They don't need to be done in an hour. You can take time to think about it. And in that meantime, find a human being, not someone that called you, not somebody that emailed you, someone you know. Maybe a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister, someone here, someone at the staff here. A human being that you know and you can talk to on the phone or personally talk to, and just talk to them about what's happening. Slowing down is the number one way to defeat this from happening. They want you to think fast, to think you're in trouble, to think something dire is happening, and if you just slow down and talk to someone, 90% of the time you'll figure it out and the scam won't happen. So if you remember nothing else from this presentation, just remember slow down. You can take your time to think about things.
And the bad guys will not want you to slow down. They will do everything they can to speed things up. So if a conversation starts to go that direction where they're adding new layers of deadlines and bad things that are going to happen, that's just they're trying to get you back into where they want you to be. They're also going to want you not to talk to that trusted person. They're going to tell you they'll throw out all sorts of things. It's a national security secret. Don't believe it. They'll say it's under seal, that there's an arrest warrant for you, but you can't talk to anybody about it because you'll be fined and have additional charges. It's a lie. So anytime there's that combination of urgency and the secrecy element, maybe they'll say they're whatever it is, they're in a foreign country and they'll be killed if anybody finds out. They only trust you. Those are 2 major red flags.
So I just want to quickly go over a few trends here. So, over all of this types of theft, they get millions and millions of reports of fraud like this. 2.8 million of fraud reports, and the common categories are identity theft, imposter scams, and then credit bureaus and things like that, things that are leaks. The bottom line here on this slide is this is increasing problem. It happens all over the country, all the time, every day, millions of times a year. So it's a problem that everyone should be aware of, to be mindful that this is not something that happens to just someone once or twice a year. It happens all the time. And then a lot of people think mistakenly that elderly are more likely to be fraud victims. That's not, according to these statistics, not necessarily the case. Young people make up 20 to 29-year-old are 41% of the victims. So they are a big chunk, but the problem is 20 to 29-year-olds don't have that much money typically, so they're not losing a lot of money. But when it's 70-plus-year-olds, they're losing a lot more money. It's not uncommon to see an entire retirement accounts gone from fraud, or all the money saved in their savings gone. So the elderly tend to be, they're victims just like everyone else, but when they lose money, it tends to be more money than a younger person, because they tend to have more money in savings. All the more reason to be mindful. So this is the types of fraud. Over here is the payment method. You'll see that credit cards are number one, but gift cards are almost just as big as credit cards. So the key takeaway here is, if someone's asking you to pay in gift cards, like Visa gift cards that you can reload, that's a red flag right there. Tech companies, soldiers overseas, the IRS, you don't pay these people with gift cards. They take normal payment. So if someone's asking for gift cards as payment, don't stop right there and slow down. Another even bigger red flag is Bitcoin. If someone says, I need you to pay me in Bitcoin, stop right there. The IRS doesn't get paid in Bitcoin. Google, tech companies, they aren't paid in Bitcoin. Your friends, loved ones, they don't need to be paid in Bitcoin. So if gift cards and Bitcoin are what they're asking for, you need to slow down, talk to someone, because that's probably not making sense. You never need to pay legitimate people in Bitcoin or gift cards. And then the number one contact method is phone call. Email is just as popular, but why is phone call so popular? Because it's that sense of urgency. They can make you feel hurry up. There's this problem. I need you, before you hang up, I need you to address this. Emails tends to be more slower. So again, if you get a phone call and you're not recognizing the voice, even if they say, I know this person, or I'm friends with this person, slow down. Phone calls is a problem. So 2 red flags are phone calls by people you don't know, and requesting money by Bitcoin or gift cards. Those are red flags. Okay, so what are some of the most common types of scams? You keep going. Here's the main thing. They all need an emotional hook. They don't want you thinking about it rationally. They want you reacting with your emotions. So they need to bring emotions in it some way. They want you to have a sense of urgency, and they want to keep you isolated. If you were to say, oh, I have, my brother is into this, I want to go talk to him. They don't want you to think that, they don't want you to do that. They want you to be isolated, not talk to someone. So the way to undo this is slow down, that takes care of urgency, talk to someone, that takes care of isolation, and try to not work from emotion, work from your thinking. Okay, so sometimes the emotion they're targeting is fear. They want to instill fear in you. So how do they do this? They let you think that there's a problem, some sort of problem, but the solution to the problem is sending money. So maybe it's a grandchild is in jail or is in a car accident and needs money. Now, of course, the grandchild won't call you because this is a scam, so it won't be their voice. But it'll be someone acting on behalf. Maybe it's the government saying it's the IRS and you're being audited. Again, they're trying to make you scared. No one wants to be audited by the IRS. A business imposter, someone who's saying they have a business problem that you can help them with. And probably the one that, from my experience, has been increasingly popular is a technical problem. Your computer has a virus on it, or your phone has a virus on it, or your your computer has files that are illegal on it that could get you in trouble. All of these things are trying to make you scared. The emotional hook is fear. So when you find yourself in a situation where someone's trying to make you afraid, one, and the solution is money, two, stop right there, slow down. That's when you talk to your friend, your loved one, someone about this problem, because all of these things are red flags. Do you have anything to add?
I'll just add, we understand, everyone loves their family. So if you do feel that fear and they say your grandson has been arrested in Mexico, he was driving a scooter and he hit a pregnant woman, and he's in jail now and he needs money to be bailed out, you feel that, like, what's happening to him? Is he being beaten up? Is he being fed? So take that moment, and we understand it might be hard to hang up the phone. We encourage you to do that eventually, but if for your own peace of mind, don't give the person any information, but in a calm way, say, who are you calling from? What is your name? What is a callback number? So when you do talk to that trusted person, they can Google it and say, this is a made-up number. And that way you have the peace of mind, so you know you didn't, in the quarter of a percent chance that it might have any air of legitimacy. I can tell you it's probably less than 0.25%. But feel free to take those things. And guess what? If the person on the other line starts ratcheting up the urgency and yelling at you and asking, you don't care about John? Like, he's in prison, like, you don't care? That's an even bigger red flag, because if a police department has truly arrested your loved one, there's gonna be appropriate channels. You're not gonna pay in Bitcoin. They're gonna give you their officer, their badge number. They're gonna give you their phone number to be able to do it in an official manner. If they won't do those things, it's an even bigger indicator that it's fraud.
And it's always okay to hang up and then call, if it's a grandchild, call your child, that child's parent, and say, hey, is John in Mexico? I got this call. Or if it's the IRS, IRS has 1-800 numbers. You could call and say, I just got a call from the IRS. I want to know if it's legitimate, and they can walk you. So there's nothing wrong with hanging up and then calling a number that you know is legitimate and going from there, because you're going from a place that you can trust. So the next emotion they might target is hope. That you're getting money, a lot of money, but you just need to pay a little bit of money to get it. So the most common form of this is you've won the lottery. You've won the Jamaican lottery, you've won some lottery, and you will get millions or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but it's just this darn processing that this country requires, so you just need to pay the processing and you'll get the money. Same thing comes with investments. They have you're getting a great investment, you'll get money, you just need to pay a little in front. Same with psychic scams. They have a way of getting you money. They have a way of making you rich. You just need to give them a little bit, and then they'll 10 times your money or 100 times your money. Again, they're trying to make you excited to be, you're going to be rich, and the emotion they're trying to get you with is hope. But slow down. First question, did I enter any lottery? Do you remember doing this? Most lotteries don't give away their winnings to people who didn't even enter. So that's a first clue. But also, you can, like we said before, if they say, let's say it's the Indiana Powerball and you have played it, you can always hang up and go on the website, call the number, start from a source that you trust. But again, the emotion they're trying to get you is hope that you're going to be rich. So when they're doing that, slow down and really think it through.
And if you think of a Powerball winner, they take the taxes and the fees and everything out of the winnings. So just go back to the ones we've heard of. So if it's some random little sweepstakes, they're never going to ask for money up front. That's a sure scam.
Yeah. Okay, next one is love. You've met someone online who's in love with you, but you can't meet them and they need money. So the most common type is romance. So someone, a soldier in Afghanistan, and they're stuck in Afghanistan. Or someone is online and you've met them and they have a picture that looks legitimate, they have a lot of information about themselves, they seem like a really nice person, but they just need money for a small problem. That's slow down. Because even if you feel like a lot of times people feel like they know them really, really well because they may have had a lot of conversations. But this person could be doing that with dozens of other people. It might be a 30-year-old man in Nigeria who's got a picture of someone that is completely different. So if this problem comes up, this is where we say, slow down and just call that person we mentioned before. Your daughter, your loved one, someone here, a friend, and just say, hey, I've met this person, they seem really nice, but they need money. What do you think about this? Because most of the time, people who are in love and are real people online, they don't need money, especially not for emergencies. That's a red flag.
And there's no secrecy. Like if you think of someone you met around here, and they wouldn't tell you to keep it a secret from your loved ones. Like that's a very abnormal reaction, but they need that secrecy because the loved one is going to tell you not to pursue it. I'll just mention, I don't know how many of you use social media, like to share photos and stuff with family members, but chances are your family uses social media, so sadly, the bad guys have research before they even send out that first email or more likely call you. They have done research. So maybe your name's featured in an obituary and they know you have 6 sisters because it was in, that's available just out there on the internet. Maybe, your birthday was posted out there and all, but what's the chance we have the same birthday? That gives us an instant connection. So it isn't, I tell people it's not always that you should never feel embarrassment. Like sometimes the person seeks you out and just proceed with caution, because they may be targeting you, especially if you've recently experienced a loss of a family member or a pet. Sadly, they are trolling those internet articles and they know you're vulnerable, they know you're hurting. Maybe you just want somebody to talk to and it's not even a romantic thing, and then maybe it never turns toward romantic. Maybe it's just a really strong friendship, and as my colleague mentioned, there's going to be something. Maybe you talk for weeks or months and then all of a sudden they were in Italy and their sister got in a car accident and she needs a surgery, and the only way, she doesn't have insurance, and I'm pulling from actual examples that I've seen sadly over the years, and she needs the money immediately or she is going to die. And you care about this person, whether as a romantic partner or a friend, and you don't want their sister to die. So, they want, add me to your bank account. That's something you should never do unless you have met the person in real life and you've kind of gotten kind of that gut check from someone that you trust, that friend, that relative that in real life. Never add them to any of your banking information. Never give them your social security, never any of that. Just proceed with caution until you've met the person in real life, and you can kind of do that in-person assessment if they are who they say they are.
And the last emotion, what all these schemes have in common is they want to get you in a hot state. They want you to think from emotions, not from reason. So they will want to send money quickly, sometimes in odd ways, like Bitcoin or gift cards. You might be like, okay, I get that your sister is sick, but why would I pay in gift cards? That is a red flag. So
they'll have an answer. They'll say customs took all their documents. They'll have a reason. Like just every question you pose at them, it'll be a lie, but they will have a reason. Somebody took their bank account, or the country's corrupt. So I've seen it all, and they just keep coming up with excuses why they need it in Bitcoin, or why you have to get large gift cards and read the number out over. If you ever find yourself, like you said, buying gift cards, or worse yet, reading gift card numbers over your phone, just stop. It's fraud, 100%.
Yeah. And another thing I'll add is I said this before, but Bitcoin, I would feel comfortable saying, just stay away 100%. There's no reason ever to pay in Bitcoin, ever. So, you know, if it's someone you really, really trust and you know it's legitimate, and there's some reason saying Bitcoin, just say, I will just write you a check. So that if you really, and that's if you feel legitimate, there's no reason to ever do Bitcoin.
Great. I saw a great question. Just, I won't ask for a show of hands, but Bitcoin is like a digital currency. So it's not US dollars. It is something that you have to trade on the computer, and it's a whole nother, we call it a virtual currency. So it sometimes is called Bitcoin, sometimes it has like another name, like all sorts, there's other types of Bitcoin, Ethereum, that type. But if you recognize they're talking about a virtual currency, it applies to Bitcoin.
And I say that because you don't want to go down this road, but if you were to pay money, if you were to transfer it through like your bank, and you thought about it and a few hours go by and you're like, that was a mistake, sometimes that can be undone if it's through a legitimate bank. And sometimes the banks themselves, even without you doing stuff, knows that, okay, this money going from this person in Indiana to Nigeria, I'm going to look at this closer, so the banks will stop it. But if there was an elderly woman in Plainfield who had a tech problem on her computer. They told her to put 30 grand into a Bitcoin ATM at a specific place, in a Bitcoin ATM. Once that 30 grand went into that ATM, it was gone. There was no undoing. It was like she shredded it. There's just no one's monitoring Bitcoin to make sure it's legitimate. There's no way to undo things that happen in Bitcoin. So it's just all the problems are amplified if it's Bitcoin because there's no bank looking to make sure everything's legitimate.
I'll add in one piece. He mentioned like a check or more, like moving away from the Bitcoin piece. If you're talking to someone online, whether it's friendship or common interest in a certain kind of animal or whatever the common link is, if they ask you to do anything, like go to a bank but they tell you to lie to the bank, that's a huge red flag. They'll say, tell them it's for selling a rare coin. And the bad guy will feed you a story and ask you to tell it to the bank because they know the bank is going to say, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? And the bad guys don't want you to think on your feet because you're an honest person. So the bad guys will feed you a story of what to tell the bank. So if you're being asked to lie or secrecy, those are huge, huge issues.
Yeah, and in this case, talking to bank tellers, people at the bank, they are your ally a lot of times because they will want to talk through like, why are you sending this money? They are kind of familiar with your patterns. If you're doing something unfamiliar to them, they might want to talk it through. They're not being nosy or they're not being intrusive. They're just talking it through to make sure everyone's thinking it through. So the bad guys want you to be isolated. We want you to talk to people, your friends, your loved ones, and even the people at the bank. It's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm about to transfer this money. Here's what's going on. What do you think about that? So nothing wrong with that. Okay, and sometimes just be aware of people aren't necessarily looking for your money. They're looking for your information, Social Security numbers, personal identifying information that they can use to make money in other ways. So Medicare calls and your payments are being stopped, there's a problem. We need your Social Security number, we need all this, and this to get it going. If this is another slowdown period. Slow down before you give your credit card information, slow down before you give your bank information, slow down before you give your personal information. Now your address, that's probably fine, but your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, or your Social Security number, things like that, slow down because they know ways to take that and maybe go open a bank account somewhere in your name and use that bank account in ways that you won't even be aware of. So, and that's just one way. So beware, slow down when they're giving money and slow down when you're giving information. So when I was talking about this presentation, I asked what people may be interested in, and one of the topics came up is phishing, what is phishing and how to avoid it. So there's a few slides on that topic. You can change it. So phishing, and I think it's, yeah. So phishing is a type of deception intended to steal your data, such as credit card numbers, passwords, other things, usually through a fraudulent email message. They are sending an email that looks like an email that you can trust, but it's designed to get information from you, personal information or financial information. So if you change the slide. And the way they do this is, and you can, let's say a scammer sends out 2 million emails. Well, of that, probably only 5% are open. So you got 100,000 emails open. Of that, only 5% of the people actually click the link and kind of fall for it. And then 2% actually enter their information online, and from those 2%, they're able to get $1,200. Well, that day, that one batch of emails, they got $120,000. So they know that they're not going to, almost all of these emails won't be successful. They know that, but they just want a small bit to just get a little bit of money, and they're making a good amount of income from this. So that's why it's kind of called phishing. They're casting a lot of lines out there. They know not everyone's going to get a bite. They just need 1 or 2 bites that they can reel in, and then they have the money they need. So it's all about sending a lot of emails. So a scam artist is sophisticated, so they want it to look legitimate, and it has real looking logos. It's, I think 15 years ago, they were pretty easy to tell because there was no logo, the font was weird, the spelling was weird. Those days are kind of gone. Now they know how to do spell check. They know how to take a logo from a legitimate company. They know how to take the bottom, the bottom of the email, that they have a bunch of small print stuff to make it look legitimate. They take that stuff. So these emails are becoming much more realistic looking and harder to detect. So they might do something like, it'll be from ebay.com.kr or ebay.com at this, or Google, but there's an extra O here. These are things that if you were just quickly looking at the website that it came from, you would say, oh yeah, Google. I trust Google. But you wouldn't realize that you need to slow down and look at it a little more closely. They're spoofing real sites that you trust. And then spear phishing, if you made, you mind?
Can I give a real quick example of the
Oh,
phishing?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just at least the phishing, like what kind of resonates with me is like Amazon. It looks like it's coming from Amazon. Even if you open it, it's not the end of the world. But if it asks you to log in directly from there, stop. Like, don't ever click on a link in an email to log in, because then they have your username and your password. So anytime, if there's a delay in your order or an issue with your debit card, the email may be legitimate. Your bank or Amazon or Target might be telling you that, but always go back to a trusted method. If you have like an app for it, or talk to somebody you trust. Say, hey, I got this weird email saying my Target card's been compromised. Can you help me sort this out? And I have it on good authority that you will be assisted in that, because no one wants to see anyone taken advantage of.
Yeah. And then spear phishing is like phishing, except for it's a little more targeted. They are using, do you mind advancing it? So they are using, kind of what Victoria was mentioning, they are able to get information about you in some way. Maybe they looked at Facebook, maybe they looked at your kid's Facebook, maybe they got a little bit of information from the phone book or something, and they are able to target you specifically. So this is no longer the world of 2 million emails. They have targeted you using personal information, and now they're trying to do the same thing, get information from you. But it appears to be someone you know, or someone you trust, or maybe an email account you know. So, and then red flags are, they want you to update your account, or they have a gift was waiting for you, and you just need to click this to get your free gift. Again, these are red flags. And then context-aware attacks are, they know you're on eBay, they know you're on Amazon, and they know a lot of people are, so they would say, okay, I'm going to make it look like eBay, I'm going to make it look like Amazon, because I know this person uses Amazon. So just be aware.
She can't hear too good, so I'm sorry.
So here is one that it looks like it's your bank. It says your account information will be verified. This looks pretty legitimate. But then you would say, hold on, what's this website? That's not US Bank. You know, all major companies, eBay, all the banks, they pay good money to have the website up here to be their name or close to it. You know, chase.com, pnc.com, things like that. So even if the substance looks legitimate, always check the website link up above. Here's another one. Oh, no problem. So this is, again, it looks like your bank. And you might be tempted to put in your information. But if you check here, it's not legitimate. So now what's the red flag here? Well, if you were to enter your information here, this website, which isn't US Bank, would now have your information and they would know it goes to US Bank, so they could try to log into your account through their own computer and try to cause mischief that way. So if you were to look this up, you know, it actually goes to Korea. So red flag, this link is not legitimate. And I should have said this, and of course, if it's not a, you know, if you say US Bank, and you're saying, well, I don't bank with US Bank, I bank with Fifth Third, that you can stop, don't even try to input any information, just stop, you know that's not legitimate. Okay, here's another one. So it says, update your email account and it'll be suspended. That's the emotional hook. Your account's going to be suspended very soon. You need to do something immediately to reactivate it. So here are a couple of things. And look here, the sense of urgency, and then this web administrator, that's a red flag because you should know, you know, your bank or whoever is monitoring your money should be able to identify themselves with a little more specificity than web administrator. But again, you can just hover over the link and you'll see that it does not go to your bank account. It goes to some other place, and that's the trick. They want to take you to some other website. And here's another one. This looks legitimate. It's eBay. It looks legitimate. But, you know, you might say, do I have this account or did I make this purchase? And again, hovering over this link, responds now. It doesn't take you to eBay. But as Victoria's saying, an easier, let's say you look at this and it is calling it all lining up. You did place an order. Then what you want to do is don't use the link in the email. Go just Google eBay, log into your account that way, and see order history or, you know, messages. That's the best way to check if there's a problem with your order. Don't use a link in an email. Just go back to the website itself and check order history. And this is the same thing. This is PayPal. This looks like it's all PayPal. It looks very legitimate, except for right here. This has nothing to do with PayPal. That's the red flag. And again, what does it say? Start now. We invite you to act fast. This is a real scam that people have. And when you see, this would be a red flag, but just act fast. Start now. That's when you say, okay, I remember that training, that presentation those two people gave. This is my time to slow down. So that's what you want to do.
Be one of the first 50 to sign up.
Yeah.
Limited time only. Those are all the words they use to create urgency.
So remember, here's the tricks to remember. Verify your account. You know, they don't want you to set, most legitimate people, your bank, aren't asking you to verify your account. They know your account. It's verified. They don't need you to re-verify it. And so another red flag is if you don't respond in 48 hours or 24 hours, it will be closed. Again, banks don't do that, eBay doesn't do that, Amazon doesn't do that. This asking you to work within a certain amount of time, that's a red flag. That's where you say, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to think this through. And again, what if it says, dear valued customer? Well, all your bank, Amazon, they know your name, so they would have your name in the email. Phishing people don't, so they have to have generic statements like this. Click the link below to gain access to your account. You know, they would, a legitimate company doesn't send you a link to their website, they would just have you go to their website. And so remember, it can look like it's chase.com, but it can actually take you somewhere else. So remember, if you put the mouse over the link, it should be able to show you what the actual website is. And here's what you never want to do. If an email asks you for personal information, don't supply it. Don't supply personal information in response to an email. Remember, check the site to see if it's secure, and you can call a number if necessary. Double check the sender. You know, look at that sender real close. Is it, you know, Google with 3 O's or 4 O's? And then don't click on the link in the email. Just open a new window, type in eBay, type in Amazon, type in Chase. And then update your browser, keep antivirus updated. But the number one is the bottom. Don't let emotions get the best of you. You know, Chase Bank, legitimate banks, Amazon, these legitimate companies, they're not going to ask you to act out of emotion. If you see that, that's a red flag, and you're going to keep your emotions in check. And remember, not all fraudsters start as strangers. Some people you might feel like you know. You know, if you have an accountant, they can steal from you. Things like that. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but just be aware that people you know may also be trying to attempt to take your money. So again, when that happens, even if it's someone you know, like your friend over here, talk to another friend and say, I have this friend, or I have this accountant, or my daughter, you know, and talk it through. But be especially mindful of like new people that, you know, maybe you've known them for a few weeks online, but you've never seen, or you've talked to them for a few months, but you've never met. Those are the kind of people you want to be especially leery of. And not all fraudsters want your money. Remember, they could be recruiting you to help move money for them. So you might be thinking, someone calls you and says, I just need your help. I have this person overseas that needs money. They're not asking you for your money, but you're going to have money come into your account in some way, and you're going to pass it on. That's probably someone doing something illegal, because real criminals aren't usually able to use the United States banking system. Banks are on to them. So they need trusted people like you to move money for them. So moving money for people you've never met, or moving money at all, is a red flag. Opening bank accounts for people, or receiving, you know, money orders in the mail, or Walmart money orders in the mail, and then passing it on. You might be getting wrapped up, you probably are getting wrapped up in something illegal that someone needs you to move money for them. So the main, and I think we both said this a lot, so I feel like it's coming through, but remember the second slide I showed you, I'm going to come back to that. You have the upper hand when you slow down. So you feel that fear, you know, the fear of tech problems, the fear of your grandchild is hurt, the fear of a loved one's in danger. That's an emotion. You feel hope. You feel like you might win the lottery. You're about to be rich. You're about to be able to pay for your grandkids' college. Or you feel love. You just met someone and you really like them. Or you feel any of these emotions. That's when it's time to slow down. And then sometime today, it doesn't have to be now, but by the end of the day, I want you all to think of just one person in your life that you could talk to when something like this comes up. Take, you know, when later today at dinner or later tonight when you're time to yourself, think through, who will I talk to when this comes up? Because it may come up, I would almost say it probably will come up sometime. And you want to just right away say, okay, this is the time I talk to that person. Your daughter, your kid, your friend, someone here, an employee here, to talk to about what you need. Because if you slow down and it's someone you really, really know, don't make it someone you've never laid eyes on. You want it to be someone you have seen before and you have their number. And then always feel free to learn more about scams. We have the Department of Justice has a website. AARP has a lot of resources on this. And then this is a hotline that you can call. It's also, we have brochures that have this number. You can always, if maybe the person, your go-to person isn't available, you can call this hotline and talk through them. So let's say you picked your go-to person is your daughter. but they're in France on vacation. Don't, still slow down. You can call this hotline. Did you have anything you wanted to add for the FBI?
The FBI.gov, there's also some resources specific to these type of scams if you want to read more. Worst case, if you find yourself a victim of it, on there it says file a complaint. Even if it's an attempted and you don't fall for it, feel free to file a complaint on there and just let us know what has happened.
And I guess I would add too is that if you find yourself a victim, a common reaction is they feel ashamed or like how could they have fallen for this? Don't feel that this happens to thousands of people every day, and the sooner you say something, the sooner something can be stopped. So if you realize it and you wait a few days to report it or to tell a loved one, that might be too late. But if you tell someone and you can act right away, it might be time to stop it. So don't feel embarrassed, don't feel ashamed. Talk to someone, explain what happened, and we might be able to help you out.
I would also encourage cut off the communication. I have probably once or twice a month somebody call me that I've met through whatever, or maybe it comes through our main line, and they say, I've got a bad guy, the same type you talked about when I heard your presentation. I'm going to string him along and get more information to help the FBI out. Please don't do that. Don't put yourself at risk. Don't put your money at risk. Just stop. Like if it is the grandparent example and you feel like there's a 0.5% chance that it's real, write down what information and then end the communication. Don't talk to them for an hour. Don't tell them, about how this child was as a teenager, or just don't share more information. But please don't string them along on our behalf, because it just puts you in jeopardy. And then you make it on the list, so scammers are going to be coming from all sides because you took the bait, and I don't want that to happen.